Here with David Roberts from Grist Magazine, grist.org. There's an immense amount of progressive activity outside the convention, far more than 2004, and I feel like environment and energy and global warming issues are at the top of the list of what I've been seeing. Has that been your same reaction at the convention?
There's been a lot of great activity outside the convention. A lot of, organized by NGOs, and there was a roundtable yesterday with lots of politicos and lots of NGO representatives, business representatives, with very high level conversation. I've been very impressed with outside the convention how sophisticated the conversation has become. I feel like it's moved a long distance in a very short time, and I feel like all the pieces are in place. The business community is in place. The NGOs have gotten more sophisticated about this stuff. The politicians, all I think, are on board. So I feel like we're poised. But what I don't see is inside the convention speeches themselves all mention energy independence. There are rare call-outs to climate change, but I don't feel like, unlike outside the convention, I don't feel like inside the convention it's been integrated into the economic message, integrated into the national security message, integrated in a way that's powerful for people. It still feels a little bit like an add-on, and it still feels mostly focused on demagoguing oil companies, which I'm all for. I mean, I'm all for demagoguing oil companies, but I think that's
It only goes so far.
Electoral goal, but it only goes so far. And I haven't seen the positive vision articulated as well as I would like. So, and the people who are interested in energy tend to be people like Governor Schweitzer from Montana, who's good on climate change, but who also is keen on energy because he's got coal resources and oil resources, and so it is keen on using those resources. So I don't feel like the message has quite infused the progressive political class yet in a way I would like.
But if that message has gotten very sophisticated and pretty consistent amongst the outside movement, will people be poised to hit the ground running in January 2009 to actually do they know what legislation they want to get passed, and do they know what red lines there are to say, that's just a greenwash piece of legislation, that's not a real move towards a clean energy economy?
Right. Well, I've been heartened. I mean, a lot of the events I'm talking about outside the convention, I've been going to events last week in Las Vegas, and I go to a lot of these events, and the politicians too, like Ed Markey and Governor Bill Ritter from Colorado, and a lot of politicians have a very sophisticated take on this stuff, and I've noticed that there's growing consensus on the policy planks here. Everybody's for the tax credits, right? Everybody's on and on about the tax credits. Everybody's big on grid improvements and transmission. Everybody's big on renewable portfolio standards, sort of these minimal mandates for renewables. I think there is a great deal of consensus about the basic policy pieces that need to go into place. Unfortunately, the sort of marquee policy, the carbon price or cap and trade, is the one around which there's most controversy. So I think if I was advising Obama, should he win, I would probably advise him to try to drive through a lot of these supplementary policies which are less politically charged, have less concerted opposition, and are easier to pass. Stuff like appliance efficiency standards and transmission infrastructure improvements, and get a couple of quick wins and build some momentum and build a coalition and gain sort of the trust of the American people that you can do this stuff without threatening their livelihoods. I would start with the easier stuff, I think, in the first 100 days. But of course, Copenhagen looms in 2009, so that's a real political nut. I mean, but right now, 28 U.S. states are involved in regional cap and trade programs already. So I feel like if Obama just did a few quick wins on stuff like the renewable standards tax credits, you know, and shined a spotlight on the 28 states that are doing cap and trade, I think he'll have enough in his hand to go to Copenhagen with his head held high.